There are many advantages to running published adventures, but saving time really isn't one of them. This is a common misconception a lot of DMs have, that by switching over to running published adventures, we can actually save time during our prep. But published adventures can be big and pretty hard to digest. Crown of the Oathbreaker, a fantastic published adventure, is over 900 pages, which makes even Monty Cook's Ptolus look svelte at only 670 pages. Now, some adventures are designed from the ground up to be easy to prepare, like the ones written for the Arcane Library. You can find a link to those adventures down in the show notes below. They're often below 20 pages, and they are designed that every word is there to help you prepare and run this game. But many times published adventures are really rather large. They can be big campaign source books that are running 200 to 300 pages. They can even be 32-page short single session adventures, but it's still a lot of material to digest, which means it's going to take you time. Not only do published adventures take time for you to just initially read so you even know what you have, but a lot of time reading it isn't enough. You're going to have to read it ahead of time to have a good idea of what the overall adventure is like, but then you're going to want to read each individual section before you're going to run it, so you have that. You need to internalize a lot of information. And then there's customization. Very likely you don't want to run it exactly as it is in the adventure, so you're going to want to customize it for your group, and that takes some time. So there's a fair bit of effort in taking a published adventure and getting it ready to run for your game. If it takes so much effort, why do we even use published adventures? And that's because published adventures have a whole lot of things that they offer that we can't do with an adventure that we write ourselves. Some examples of these are professional artwork. They're filled with inspiring artwork that's designed exactly for that adventure. Many times we can take this artwork and share it with our players so they can actually see it. Well-designed maps that are built around the adventure is something else. Right now I'm running the adventure Scarlet Citadel, and the maps in that adventure are fantastic. They're all interlinked, they're all interwoven, and they're all tied to the adventure itself, way more than I could do on my own. The kind of story that you often get in a published adventure is usually deeper and richer than the kind of story that you would be able to come up with easily on your own. Many times when you're running your own adventures, and if time is a factor, you're going to have to move quickly. You come up with pretty straightforward adventures with pretty straightforward plot lines, and you run them. Published adventures, they have the time, they have editors, they have writers who can spend the time to try to build a more interwoven and deeper adventure than you might typically have for your single session of the game you're running for your home group. There's also a value in the shared experience. I can talk to other DMs about running the adventures that I've run if they're published. If we've all run Empire of the Ghouls, I can talk to other people who have run Empire of the Ghouls. I can talk to the author who wrote Empire of the Ghouls, and I can share experiences and get a better understanding of what other people have done, what worked well, what parts needed to change. I can't really do that when I'm running a homebrew adventure. Now, a lot of times the published adventures we have are well integrated with a particular campaign world. If you're running some of the Wizards of the Coast published adventures that are tied to the Forgotten Realms, you get a lot of the flavor and a lot of the feeling of the Forgotten Realms, maybe more so than if you ran your own homebrew adventures when you don't necessarily know all of that lore. Again, using Empire of the Ghouls as an example, it gives a very widespread look at the entire world of Midgard in a way that I would never do if I was just building my own adventures from the Midgard world book. One other advantage is playtesting. These adventures have gone through multiple groups. Many times they've gone through multiple groups before they were published. So other people have had experiences, they've run over the rough parts, they've figured out what parts don't work, and they've tuned them and they've tweaked them so that they should run better. You don't really ever playtest your own homebrew adventures. The only time you ever run it is the one time you're actually going to play it for your group. Published adventures just offer a tremendous value. If you think about the amount of money that it took to produce that adventure compared to the amount of money that you paid for it, it's a tremendous value. If you try to imagine spending the kind of money to make that campaign adventure that you were going to do for your home group, it would cost you tens to hundreds of thousands of dollars. And instead you're getting that for like 10 to 50 bucks. It's a really good deal to use the material that's in a published adventure. But there are those costs that go beyond money. The amount of time and the amount of effort and the amount of energy that it takes to absorb a published adventure, to tailor it for your group, and to run it every session takes a fair bit of time. Published adventures do not really save you much time. What about running homebrew adventures? There's obviously advantages to doing this as well. For one, it's your own thing. You've designed it from the ground up. You've built it. It's in your head. There's nothing missing. There's not anything else that you have to absorb from somewhere else because it's all what's coming out of your head. You get to completely customize your homebrew adventure around the characters and around the story that's going on. If they decide to go in a completely different direction, you can go with that direction. If some major change happens in the campaign, you can go with that major change. You're not losing a lot of information because you didn't build out this entire campaign and you don't have this great big book that you're trying to follow. The These days, there's lots of material that you can pick up on all kinds of different places for artwork and for maps that you can share with your group. You can pick up many packages of artwork for very cheap. You can pick up maps that are publicly available or available for a low amount of money, and you can use these in your own campaign. You can twist them, you can turn them, you can modify them however you want. There's lots of different resources for you to be able to fill in parts of your game that you yourself don't want to develop. If you have a clear and clean system for doing your game prep, like, I don't know, Return of the Lazy Dungeon Master and the 8 steps, you have a process that you can use where it's usually very quick to build an adventure for your group. And many times you can build an entire adventure in about 30 minutes. Finally, and probably a big reason that people like to homebrew their own adventures, it's theirs. It's their own thing. It's their own creation. They built it. It's from their mind. It's from your mind. You've built this thing from nothing, and you get to bring it to your players at the table and let them experience it. And that's a really fun thing to do. And that's something you don't quite get when you're running a published adventure where somebody else was the one to have created the work. I have a feeling that that's a big reason why people like running their own homebrew adventures many times. So there are many reasons to run both published adventures or to run homebrew adventures. There's many advantages and disadvantages to both. And the good news is we don't have to choose only one path. You can run published adventures sometime. You can run homebrew adventures sometime. You can go back and forth. You can start with a published adventure and turn it into a homebrew adventure. Or you can run a homebrew adventure and take parts from published adventures and drop them in. We have a tremendous wealth of ways that we can use both of these ideas. We don't have to be stuck to any one of them. But at least for the purposes of this topic, we've dispelled one myth, one important myth, and that's the idea that running published adventures actually saves you time. Most of the time, that's just not true. Most of the time, it's going to take you as much or even more work to run a published adventure for your group than it is to run a homebrew adventure. But there are a whole bunch of advantages that published adventures do offer to our game. So really, we can use the best of both. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, you can subscribe to the Sly Flourish newsletter and get more information like this sent directly to your email inbox absolutely free, including a free adventure generator PDF. You can also join the Sly Flourish Patreon, where you get access to the City of Arches sourcebook, Uncovered Secrets Volume 1 and 2, a whole bunch of exclusive adventures, a monthly RPG Q&A, and a dedicated Discord server, all for a very low price. Or you can pick up any of my books, including Return of the Lazy Dungeon Master, the Lazy DM's Workbook, and the Lazy DM's Companion, all which help you both run published adventures and build your own homebrew adventures. Thank you all very much. Have a great day, and get out there and play an RPG.